I'm Josh Allen, and welcome to the Baked In Podcast, where I sit down with industry innovators to uncover the unique ideas and values that are baked into their businesses and have led to extraordinary success. This podcast is presented by Busey Bank. Since Busey opened their doors in 1868, they've upheld the pledge to foster customer relationships in vibrant communities, embodying a legacy of partnership and progress. With multiple lines of business, Busey provides a range of financial solutions tailored to your needs. From digital banking to planning for retirement, Busey's here to help you achieve your financial goals. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth. Since 1868. Learn more at busey.com. On this week's episode, I get the chance to catch up with Mich Hancock, the co-founder and license holder of TedX St. Louis, an independently organized TED event, and the connection we share since we met in 2021. The TED experience for me is definitely one of the highlights of my professional career. She's also the CEO of 100th Monkey, a digital marketing agency that specializes in human-to-human interactions. We talk about the history and her vision for TEDx St. Louis, how her marketing work uncovers other business challenges that need to be addressed, and how her work with kindness is opening new doors for her into the future. Mich is a wonderful advocate for our town and a leader in amplifying what we're doing better than most. I really enjoyed this one. Let's roll. Well, I am thrilled to have you here, and I think as I briefly mentioned before we started, I don't know that I would be sitting here if it wasn't for you. So my TEDx experience in 2021 certainly started me on a journey that really has changed the way that I lead the bakery, that has changed the things that I've gotten involved in. And so more than anything, I guess I get to thank you in person, which is nice because we haven't gotten to see each other much.
Thank you.
But can we talk about TED? I know you got a million other things going on, but I know one of the big things is that you're the license holder and the co-founder of TEDx St. Louis with Steve Summers.
Yep.
And so what you guys have done to me is really, really, really cool. So, I mean, maybe just for the audience, the difference between TEDx and TED is simply...
Yeah, sure. Let's start there. So TED, Technology, Entertainment, and Design, I think it's around 40 years old now, believe it or not. And at some point when they began to put the TED Talks on YouTube, they realized we've got something here because it went viral. So that's when they decided to open this up to, let's find people that would like to hold the license to produce a TED Talk in their own hometown. And so that was what TEDx came. X mean independently organized event. And we started ours about 11 years ago now, and we find it to be our joy and passion. The thing that we do different than a lot of TEDx's is that we feature people from our area, like yourself. We feel that St. Louis has plenty of amazing people in it that it's unending how many people.
So some of the TEDx events are still drawing national speakers or not necessarily regionally based?
Correct. And also some of them do not facilitate their speakers like we do. And so our thought is we want the talk to be original. And we don't want it to be a talk that you've given all around the world. You know, it's something that's very original to that stage that has that true TED quality. And I'm happy to say that as a TEDx, a lot of our talks do get up on TED.com. They don't just sit on TEDx. So we produce actual TED Talks most of the time.
Yeah, and I think that's, to be honest with you, that was the part that was unexpected to me, was the facilitation and the generosity of you and the whole organization sort of in that whole 6-month journey. And I can't recall, I honestly don't remember how I even got to that point. It was it would have been June of 2021, so we were still right in the midst of, obviously, the pandemic.
Right.
I've always been the kind of person and that tries to do one really hard thing every year that scares the bejesus out of me.
I bet that did it.
And that certainly did it in 2021. I mean, there weren't a lot of times it'll be some kind of athletic event or ultra marathon or something like that, and obviously there wasn't a lot of that going on. And I had always watched TED Talks. I mean, ever since that they were available, I've always found them to be fascinating and really neat, and was always inspired by this like one simple idea and how it impacted whatever it was that it impacted and how it grew from there. And a lot of them with like Simon Sinek and those kind of things that would have been my initial exposure to it. But that was the big piece of it that was really so neat, was how you all coached us, and it was practicing in front of the group, and I had two speaker facilitators who sort of helped me hone in on that, because what you put down on paper the first time is far cry from what
Never.
6 months later.
It's always different.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that was unique to what you guys were doing in St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, we take it seriously, really seriously, I guess. And we have a team that's very dedicated. I mean, this takes it takes community to make this happen. But what I remember so you had actually called me. Do you remember you called me because you had to talk at some conference and they wanted it to be TED-like. But then they shifted it to a video later.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember this doesn't happen very often, that I'm talking to someone and thinking, there's something here. And so then I put you in front of our speaker committee. And I remember Steve Knight, who just recently retired from Coca Biz, but I remember Steve Knight just being so excited about your idea with the whole trash metric, and which we can talk about. But I just was so thrilled because I was like, I really felt like there was something here. And I'm not saying this just because I'm on your podcast right now, but your talk is a talk that I lead people to often, because of course we get people like, I have a TED Talk. And then they start telling me, their personal story, they overcame some kind of a trauma, which is a great talk, not for the TED stage. It may come into play with a personal story, but really a TED Talk is about a big idea, the kind of idea that people go, wait, I never thought of this before. And your idea was truly, truly something that I had never thought about before, and I knew the audience would get excited about, a new way of looking at your business by how much trash can you not produce?
Right. Yeah, and we'll put a link to the talk in the show notes, right? We don't have to spend too much time talking about it. But I do want to, but the process to me was so really fascinating. And then the other thing for me that's come out of it, and obviously it's opened up my eyes to public speaking in a way, again, that I hadn't thought about since like high school and college. And so that's been terrific, some trade shows and those kinds of things. But it's also opened up, we've sent some groups from the bakery. We continually send groups. We had a group of young women in leadership at the bakery who just came to the women's event.
Yes.
What was that, just a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
And they came home so excited and they came back to the bakery, really excited. One, about the opportunity to get out and just see what other people are doing, but also just this whole idea of these generation of ideas and the infectious nature of what they can do.
Yeah, and that's the idea, right? You go there so that it's like a playground for your brain. You go there and your heart. You go there and you hear these talks and you hear what these people are doing, and it just gets you excited about life. Like, what could I do? Could I do something similar? What will it ignite in me? And then, of course, people, the idea is you are hanging out with friends and going, I heard this talk. And then you start talking about the talk.
So how did you originally get involved? How did you originally conceive of the idea to bring it to St. Louis and then get the license? Is that an arduous process? Was nobody else doing it, and so it became available?
It was Steve, actually. So Steve was reading Wired magazine, and he saw an article about TedX Bozeman in Montana, and he thought, what? Montana has this. Well, do we? So he started looking into it, and actually we did start out as TedX Gateway Arch. So he started looking into it. His brother, Bob Summers, believe it or not, I know. And then Bob was like, hey, Steve's doing this, and it just seems like you should do this. And I definitely knew it was something because I was a huge TED Talk fan. And I was like, yeah, I absolutely would love to do this. So Steve and I met and we were like, let's just make this happen. And then at some point, so the TEDx organization is hoping to get rid of all the TEDx and then the name of a monument or an area or something. They just wanted to be TEDx plus the name of the city. So at some point, TEDx St. Louis came up. and they were like, Mich, we want you to take this license, and off you go.
So what's been the biggest challenge? I mean, in the 11 years that you've been doing it, what's been the biggest challenge?
Honestly, sponsorship is a big challenge for any organization, I think. But then the other challenges, that we've had to just figure out over time were, in the beginning, once you were doing this TedX thing, so many people were reaching out to me, and I was like, "What? Can you reach out to me about my marketing company, because that pays me?" But okay, and I was just every day I was just getting phone calls and emails and LinkedIn messages about this person and their talk, and here's links to all my talks, go watch them. And I was like, I can't do this. So that's when we started the audition process, and I'm so excited we did that, because most of our talks come from our auditions.
Right.
So we do those once a year. We usually around January we do a call for submission. We take about 300 of those and we comb through them. And then from there, we pick 30 to audition, and you get 3 minutes to wow us. And we have an entire spreadsheet of people that we are interested in putting on the stage.
And I mean, and I'm guessing based on your process that 3-minute presentation is a far cry from what ends up being.
Oh, absolutely. And so, but I will say it's really interesting, because most of the people that audition pretty much know what their big idea is already, which is impressive, because that's not easy to come by. Other people in the community, we've got mavens out there that will just turn us on to someone that they'll say, we think this person has a great idea and you should maybe talk to them. And then we have to kind of dig a little bit for the idea. But the auditioners, I mean, if you audition for us, you're allowed to stay and watch all the other people audition, and everyone leaves looking at us going, how do you even? I'm like, right? It's a big task to figure out.
I mean, not critical, but the idea is definitely more important than the presentation skills, because you feel like you can coach the skills, or how do you balance those two things? Because at some point somebody's going to get on stage in front of 500 or 600 people for 13 to 18 minutes and have to have a completely, which I didn't realize, a completely memorized presentation.
Yes.
I mean, it's a
we
long
challenge
time.
you. Well, no, I mean, obviously if somebody gets up there and just crumbles, it's probably not a good idea. Sure. But, we do look for their stage presence a bit, but as you know, we also teach that. And some people are just natural to it. Some people just, they're not aware of certain things that they are doing. Maybe they're moving a lot, or they're distracting the audience. So we work with them on that. The other thing is we're looking to see, is this a timely topic that people will want to hear? And is this the person to give that talk? And so, you could have a hobby, or like maybe something you do on the side that you're really into, but it may not, you weren't the person that wrote the book or, has put this into practice kind of thing. And so we're asking those questions. Are you the expert in this? Are you the person therefore to give this talk? And then is this an idea worth spreading?
Are you also curating the mix of those ideas together? Like, how much cohesion does there need to be in the evening?
Not really. That's why all of our events are, the names are like Amplify. It's not like you have to be this for the theme. It's more of, we want a variety of topics. And it's interesting because when I get the surveys back, because we survey everyone and then it goes through TED, and then TED sends the results of the survey back to me. And it's interesting how there's so many people like, I came for this talk, but this talk was so interesting. I had no idea I would be interested in this topic. And so it's fun to kind of see where people are getting new ideas. And
you're down to, is it just one event a year, or are you
we do 2 events a year. Okay. So we do one in May, which we call our innovation event. And then we do the other ones around somewhere between September, October, and that's our women's event.
Okay. So in 21, when I did it, you did it on the same day because we were kind of pandemic squashed, right?
Yes, that was quite the day. Yeah. We don't want to do that to ourselves again.
Event in the morning, and, yeah. I mean, if folks are interested, so now when will the auditions or the submissions start for the May event? Not till January? Like
well, so we already know for May. We choose people way far ahead. So in January, we will do a call for submissions. And we're on social media, of course, but also our website is TedX Saint, SAINT spelled out, stlouis.org. And, but we also, just so you know, we do have a page right now. If you look at Get Involved, under there's a section called Become a Speaker. And it's a good idea to really read through that so you understand what we're looking for. So yeah, January, call for submissions. We'll take the first 300 and go from there.
So what are you hoping to accomplish with TEDx St. Louis as you look forward?
We really consider ourselves, and in fact, we're in the midst right now of revamping our purpose, our mission. Before, the idea was to create an inclusive and equitable community. And though that's been a big part of what we're doing, now what we're realizing about ourselves is we are basically a megaphone for St. Louis. We are showing off what St. Louis has to offer. Because once, it's on our St. Louis stage, after that, it gets on a global stage through the TED organization. And and I know how awesome St. Louis is, but the rest of the world sees a different St. Louis. They don't see the true St. Louis. And we want people to see that this community has amazing individuals doing amazing things, and we would like to showcase that.
Are you amplifying, to use your term, that message in other ways outside of just your website? And do you work with Greater St. Louis Inc., or do you work with other organizations to help push out some of the ideas that are generated?
So yeah, we've had talks with them, and like right now we're doing a lot with Missouri History Museum, which is mainly Missouri, but right now, we're always looking for people that want to partner with us, always, because we love to be a part of that ecosystem. We are a part of it. Like, we know these people, we talk to them, they show up at our events. I don't know we have anything formal, but we're all looking to show off what happens in the St. Louis area. Right.
And it's not hard to do. That's been the beauty of this show, honestly, is as much as I didn't go into it with that mission, it was really about curiosity and talking to folks about metrics and many of the things that sort of grew out of my TEDx experience. In the end, there's just so many cool people here doing so many cool things that it's easy to stick close to home in that, because there are a lot of stories and some great founders and leaders and entrepreneurs that are just doing some amazing things, and they're doing a lot of that work outside of St. Louis, but they're here. This is home, and it's really cool to see all of that.
Well, and I think the other thing we have as a Midwestern town is we're rather humble about it. We're not the kind of people that are like, look at me. We tend to be a bit more humble and sweet with it.
So let's talk a little bit about your marketing company.
Let's. What a great idea, Josh.
And, as I was doing the research, I was really fascinated. So it's called 100th Monkey. Mm-hmm. Can you give me this? Can you give me the story, because it's really an interesting.
It's crazy fun, right? So there is something called the 100th Monkey phenomenon, and there was a group of scientists that were studying this little colony of monkeys on an island in Japan, and they were throwing sweet potatoes out to the monkeys, and they would get sand on them and what have you. And one day, one of the monkeys was like, "This is kind of gross. I'm going to take this over to the stream and wash that sand off, and I bet this will be better to eat." And the other monkeys were going, that's a really good idea. And what the scientists said was, by basically the 100th monkey, it became the new way of doing things. So when I started my company, we were very social media focused, and that's how I looked at social media. I thought at some point this is going to be the way we do things. It's the tipping point. And so I went out there. And this would have been
2010. This was early.
Yeah. And being in the Midwest, I was running around for about the first year and a half going, I'm doing social media marketing. And people were like, you're sweet. Can you not talk to us anymore? Because we don't want to do any more marketing. And and a lot of people were like, I don't think I don't think that's going to be around long. I'm like, it is. It definitely is. And so where we have grown to now is what we're realizing is a lot of these companies and organizations out there, they need a huge team of marketers to cover all these different types of marketing that we do these days, and all of it requires different skill sets. So even within social media, you need the creative side of things, but you also need the analytical side of things, and that's two different brains many times. So what we are now doing is we've become a marketing department for an organization that may only have one salary to spend, but they can't find the person that can do all 5, 6 different skill sets needed. We can take that one salary, divide it out amongst our people, have a project manager for you. So you have just one person to speak to, and then they are managing all the different types of marketing your company needs to do.
Any particular kinds of clients that you're most successful with?
I know that I should have this niche, but I don't want a niche.
Right.
Again, I do TedX. I'm super curious. I love learning about different companies. We get really excited when we have a company. We're like, this company does this. Isn't that cool? Like, I never even thought of this. Let's do this, and then we get to learn about them. And there's something about coming in with a fresh pair of eyes. When you're doing something day in and day out and you're so close to it, when you have something that's like stepping backwards and looking at the full picture and going, hey, have you guys ever thought about doing this? It gets super exciting because they're like, no, but that's a great idea. We should explore that. So we work with that company to explore new avenues, to experiment, to really help them get into a whole new space. There's a client I have right now, and I will tell you guys, this is so much fun to watch them. But they're called WTF, Why the Face. And Dr. Todd Frisch, he analyzes people's faces. And this is from a thousand year old traditional Chinese medicine, because you've probably heard your palms and your reflexology kind of things, many parts of your body they correspond with other parts of your body. And it's the same with the face. And he's doing these facial readings on, he just did P. Diddy, and that one's gone pretty viral. So as you can imagine, but it's so interesting, the insights. He did one recently on Ghislaine Maxwell, the one that was involved with Jeffrey Epstein.
Sure. Okay.
And he had no idea who she was. And so, we were like, just do it, and, so his videographer is JJ Kirkpatrick, who's a friend of mine, and JJ's like, we're not going to tell you, just do it. And so he's reading her face, and the whole time he's going, I'm so sorry, I don't know you, Ghislaine, and he's just saying these things, and they were spot on. Really interesting.
So he does this. I mean, I would go to him and he would and pay him to do me, or is he just looking
there's
at
a few different avenues. No. At their website, you can upload. You take a picture of the front of your face and then the sides, and then you send it in and you get a facial analysis. But this is used a lot by chiropractors, naturopaths, those kind of people. We are, however, talking about eventually being able to have an offering for lay people, because if you're a coach or an HR person, or you're a parent and you're looking at the coach and want to make sure this coach is good, or you're wondering about your child's boyfriend or girlfriend, it may be helpful in your everyday life.
So is most of your work business to consumer, like B2C, or are you doing B2B, social media?
We do both.
You do all of it?
Yeah. So, we do a lot of B2C companies, but we also have a lot of B2B companies that are working within LinkedIn, and we are LinkedIn experts by marketing via LinkedIn, but also helping people to show up as thought leaders on LinkedIn.
Yeah, folks know, because we've had some marketing folks. I'm super curious, but also very cynical about it. I really struggle to write the check. Because I
get it.
Always understand, because it's one of those. It's that adage that 50% of marketing works. The problem is I don't know which half.
Right. And that's where measurement comes in, and right. you start being more strategic in what you're doing. But in the beginning, it definitely is an investment, because you gotta start playing around. But even with that playing around, if you will, that like exploring and experimenting, that still informs you.
Sure. And I read somewhere, or maybe I was listening to you when I was doing some research, and you said something to the effect of that marketing is like a detective, that it helps you uncover the things that are not working in your company. And that you find yourself in a lot of instances doing more than just marketing for some folks.
You definitely do, because what happens is, marketing is a great scapegoat. So people tend to look at look, marketing's not working. We have to get rid of it. Whereas sometimes it's your sales, like, we're giving you these great leads, and I've had this happen. We are giving you these great leads. What's happening, And then you find out that the salespeople aren't really effective. So now we have to figure out the sales thing. Sometimes there's business development. So why the face? Maybe we should have something for the lay people out there. So it's just get the creative juices flowing, look at a company, and you start to see some things that will really help them to level up.
So it's been, 14 years. Have you stayed in that, and I don't mean it negatively, in the silo of digital marketing or social media, or do you guys because there's always that pressure, right? If you need package design, maybe I can figure out how to do that. Like, have you expanded the marketing stuff?
Oh, definitely. But what we have done that is, like website, of course, is still digital, but, we can help people out with any kind of print that they need, helping people get onto podcasts or radio shows or that kind of thing. We'll do a lot of that for our clients. The thing that we made a very intentional decision about I don't want to have a huge, massive group of people. So it's myself and a woman named Jill Lee. We're basically the full-time people, but we've partnered with a lot of other marketing companies that, we've vetted them. They're very good at what we do. We're also transparent about it. We aren't like trying to pretend like, oh yeah, we're doing that. It's just like, this is our partner. It'll cost you the same to go through them directly as it'll be through us. It's just that we're bringing the client to them, and we have worked one-on-one with them, so we understand how to work together. Videographers and just different marketing people out there that we can work with. If somebody owns the company, they are going to give it their all.
Sure.
So you're always going to get the person that's giving their all rather than trying to hire a bunch of people. And again, I was running into the same issue that these other companies are running into. I'd have this person, they'd be good at this thing, but not a whole bunch of other things. And then at some point you're like trying to fill up their time with this one thing. And it was just, this isn't working.
Right. So outsourcing it, and then obviously the freelancers to help kind of fill in that gap, because you only need a certain kind of videographer for one project, but you need somebody different.
Correct.
Social media.
So it's just it's like we're a small company, but we have a big footprint in the sense of the many different types of people that we have worked with over the years and that we know what they're doing.
And that, if we look at the Mich pie, is 100th Monkey the majority of what you're spending your energy on?
Not as much anymore. The company is running itself really well, which has opened me up to, so I'm able to explore other things that I want to do in my world. I'm one of those people that will probably never retire. I don't think retirement is a great idea anymore. I think that I love what I do, and I love having the opportunity to, look into different things that I can explore and be like, hey, this is interesting, and I'm good at this. I'm going to do this now, and start putting together other thoughts and ideas out there for people.
Well, no, and we were just talking before we started that you've sort of slowed down or stopped the podcasting, but you had been podcasting since 2016, I think, and like 360 plus episodes.
I know.
So, you were well down this game that I am just sort of getting started on.
It's so
I'm curious
fun
to talk to you about it. Maybe starting at the end, which is why has it stopped?
I think that, I've just done it at one point I was like, I'm not finding the joy in it anymore. And not to say, believe me, I love the people, right? Once I would get there and I would talk to the people, I would be fine.
And just I was on it a few years ago, so thank you. I was honored to be a part of it. But what I loved about what you were doing is that it was all about kindness. Like, you were talking to folks, trying to understand the element of their kindness personally, professionally, in some manner, which I just thought was so cool.
We need it. We need more of it. And I know it sounds fluffy, but to me, I was like, it's why I want our world to be more kind. And, it just doesn't feel kind all the time. And it's not that difficult to be kind. And if for some reason you can't be kind, like you can't find it within yourself, then let's figure this out. Let's heal you from this so that we can get you to a place where you get to live life in a very beautiful, kind way. And you see so many people that, they didn't start out well. They had wacky parents, they some sort of trauma in their life. And most of us have traumas in our background, but we don't have to live that trauma. We can work on that within ourselves to release that so that we're free of it. And there's wonderful, beautiful ways to get it done.
So with all of those conversations, and people ask me, so I know that it's not an easy question, but any particularly memorable episodes or conversations in that surprised you?
Oh my gosh, John. I can't say because there's so many diverse, interesting people.
How about surprising conversations, like conversations that you went into and you were sort of surprised by it?
Gosh, you were putting me on the spot. I really don't know. Nothing is coming to surface.
Okay.
I would say that. There's definitely been some surprises with TedX. I've definitely, there's times I'm like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. With the podcast, I don't know. Golly, I feel like I have to go back and look at everybody because I find almost every single person I'm in contact with fascinating.
Yeah.
Definite
No, and I feel the same way. The conversations are always super interesting, and to me, the hope is that I'm just having a cup of coffee with somebody, and this is what I would be bantering about with them. If I had a chance to do it. And some of them are, I guess maybe sometimes it's more interesting than I thought, or when I had researched something I didn't expect some of the things that I hear. But they're all, you're right, they're all great. And the challenge for me is
people are so fascinating.
Yeah.
No matter where they come from. And that was one of the things I did with the podcast. It wasn't, yes, I loved having the TEDx speakers on, but it wasn't about people that were, leaders in our community. Sometimes it was just someone that I met that was doing something and I was like, hey, you should be on my podcast to talk about this. And, really? It was just so sweet because they never thought someone was going to ask them to be on a podcast. But I was like, people need to know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's such I think the long form, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour,
right.
Whatever, not the 2 hour, really in-depth ones, but I think it's just a great venue to get to know somebody in a way that you can't in an article or a quick soundbite or something.
Or even people that you were friends with. I would have some friends on sometimes and I'd think, I didn't know that about you. See, that would be surprising. I wish I could think of an example though.
So do you produce podcasts with The 100th Monkey? Are you creating podcasts for some of your clients?
Yeah. And so we actually have worked with people to help them to figure out what is what is the format of your podcast? How do you, because just like you did, it's like you ask someone and then you send them information and then you're probably going to follow up with me at some point and go, hey, Mich, here's the links, go talk about it. So we help people understand how to podcast and how to market it. And then of course, how to make it keep working. But the thing you and I both know is that, I get people all the time like, I just want to do podcasting for my entire life. And I just want to monetize it. And you're like, okay, before we get there, because they see the Joe Rogans and the people that are doing this full time. And I think it's more of a vehicle for, one, you love doing it, so you have a passion about it. But also, for a lot of companies, what I don't think they consider or see is that it's a great lead generator. If there is a person out there that you want to get in front of and you're not going to get a coffee meeting with them, but you ask them to be on your podcast, you have a better chance of them showing up.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, if you are a company or organization that's looking to work with a particular group out there, make a podcast and start inviting those people to come on your podcast.
Yeah, but like you said, careful what you wish for, right?
Careful what you wish for, because this takes time. This takes time. It's not just the few minutes that you're talking to people. There's a lot of behind the scenes work.
Yeah, which I think is the scheduling and just getting everybody coordinated to be in front of the spot in the same time. And thank God for JB, my producer.
There you go, JB.
He certainly has made it.
People are needed.
He certainly makes it a lot easier. So what's on the horizon for you as you look ahead 3 to 5 years? What's next for you? I mean, obviously the TedX will continue.
Yep.
Which is such a great thing. So, and 100th Monkey is going strong, but the podcasting thing's falling aside. You got any other stuff that you're working on or things that you're interested in?
I do. I mean, there's some really interesting work out there right now with psychedelics. I shared a little bit with you, and healing people through these methods, energy healing. I also really just find, I mean, how do I say? I have always been very connected, like what people may call intuitive, or my gut feeling is pretty spot on. But lately I have been really connecting a lot more and understanding more about who we are as a people and where our civilization is going. I really feel, and I know it doesn't look like it right now, but I feel that we truly are moving into our heart space. And many are going kicking and screaming, obviously, but they've done incredible research out there about how we have neurons in our heart. Our heart actually thinks. And I would love for people to experiment with that, to maybe go to your heart first before your brain. We've been taught our brain. We're always in our brain. Whereas, what if you decided that the heart was the CEO of the body and the brain is the director of operations? And so you go to the CEO and go, here's the vision. And the heart says, hey, brain, we got to start making all this happen. What would that look like in your life? And I think it's fun to explore. And I love, again, people. I see people. I understand a lot about their background and where they've come from and how they're showing up in life and having some difficulties, and wishing that they could take their life in a new direction and live here in a much less stressful, more whole way. And I really am dedicated to helping people with that. There's a lot of ways to overcome stress. And people talk about meditation a lot. I am a master meditator. I teach meditation now. I also don't think you have to have a certain type of meditation, that you can create your own type of meditation that works for you. And I help people do that and just live a better life. Yeah. That's where my heart
love that
is.
You're allowing kindness to sort of be that guide, right?
Yeah, kindness is there for me in every way. And it's stunning and sad, and that, I live in downtown St. Louis. I'm walking the streets with my dog all the time, taking the dog out. And it's amazing to me how I just always say hi to people. Hi, how are you? And how many people they just stop and look at me like, oh my gosh, this person just saw me. Like they get, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's a bummer that's unusual. That most of the time we're just walking, we don't look at each other, we don't talk to each other. I mean, to me, I'm like, you're family. We're all here together, guys. I look at everybody like my buddies. I just maybe don't know you quite as well as I'd like to yet.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. But it's so great to see you again and again. I want to reiterate how impactful, in a way that you maybe didn't even know you were on what I'm doing and sort of the direction that I've taken things since 2021 after that talk. But it was really a phenomenal experience, and I can't recommend it enough to people if they have a idea or the seed of an idea that they think is worth spreading or worth sharing, to reach out to you guys and try to see if you can get on the docket, because it's really a terrific thing, and continued good luck with the marketing company and whatever's next for you. But I'm excited to follow along. It's great to see you.
Well, thank you, Josh. That does my heart good that you just said that. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed sharing these insights from folks I truly admire. Be sure and follow the show in your favorite podcast player to be alerted to newly released episodes. And share a comment if you have any feedback or future contributor recommendations.